Coming up on Valley View News, Los Angeles offers COVID-19 vaccines to everyone age 16 and older. Plus, a White Lives Matter rally in Huntington Beach was met by counter-protests from the Black Lives Matter movement. And the nonprofit called Good Karma LA is helping to feed the homeless.
Hello and welcome to Valley View News. I'm Lisette Ceja.
And I'm Savannah Birchfield in the Digital Media Center.
Even as conditions continue to improve, the COVID-19 death toll in California now exceeds 60,000. This number represents 10.7% of COVID deaths nationwide. Recently, the state was recording over 100 deaths per day, down from more than 500 deaths per day in January. The state's low-income Latino community saw disproportionately high numbers of deaths. LA County recorded 232 deaths for every 100,000 residents. The number of patients hospitalized in LA County also dropped nearly 28% from 2 weeks ago.
The New York Times is reporting that more than 62 million Johnson & Johnson coronavirus vaccines need to be checked for contamination in the U.S. This comes after a Maryland manufacturing plant ruined 15 million doses by accidentally mixing up the ingredients. 3 of their other vaccination sites have also temporarily stopped administering the vaccine. Over 40 people have experienced minor adverse reactions, including nausea, dizziness, fainting, and lightheadedness. European regulators have also announced that they are investigating this shot for links to unusual blood clotting. Most of the negative reactions occur within the first 15 minutes after a person gets the shot.
Anyone 16 and older in LA County can now get vaccinated for COVID-19. Appointments are available at city-run vaccination sites. The Pfizer vaccine is the only one being offered. You need to show a valid ID and be a resident of LA County. The city-run sites are open Tuesday through Saturday. Several other counties are also vaccinating those 16 and older, including Riverside, San Bernardino, and Kern.
In an effort to get kids back to school, LAUSD launched 25 vaccine centers. Lincoln High School in Lincoln Heights was the first to open. Our reporter Kimberly Lopez was there.
LAUSD is opening up 25 community vaccine centers. One of the first opened Tuesday at Lincoln High School in Lincoln Heights.
The problem of having enough space to do vaccines.
Jim Manja, director of St. John's Well Child and Family Center, says they're spreading the word in order to get the community vaccinated.
A lot of the outreach has been very targeted. So LAUSD is doing outreach to their parents.
That's the time that we need to keep them under observation.
A lot of people came to get vaccinated. George and Yoli Garcia are parents and members of the El Sereno Historical Society. They say they also want to help get the word out to the community.
Let them know that this is here and that it's right next door to them and that it's available for them to use today.
So now we can go back and let them know how easy it is.
LAUSD Superintendent Austin Butner also stopped by. These vaccine centers target the Latino and African American communities. That's where providing protection from COVID-19 is especially crucial. Butner says the main goal is to get kids back to school.
Vaccinate the adult, vaccinate the family member, vaccinate grandma at home, and the child comes back to school.
LAUSD plans to open up 61 schools in the upcoming week, including elementary schools and children's daycare. Reporting from Lincoln Heights, I'm Kimberly Lopez, Valley View News.
Many colleges will soon require students get vaccinated, but some people are opposed to the idea. Nevertheless, in the past, courts have upheld the right of colleges to mandate vaccines. The schools say they just want to protect students and staff. In a recent survey, students seem to prefer vaccination over practicing social distancing. And there remains the concern that some students will make fake vaccination cards in order to go back to school.
A vaccination site in the Bay Area was forced to turn away people over the weekend. San Francisco started offering COVID vaccine doses for everyone 16 and older just a couple days before the rest of California. Early vaccine eligibility was opened for 8 priority zip codes of underserved communities. Thousands of people showed up early to get in a long line at the Zuckerberg San Francisco General Hospital. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Luke John Day says 6,000 people showed up before 9 a.m. The vaccination site only gets 2,000 doses per day, forcing staff to turn away people. Hospital officials urge residents to return any day over the next several weeks from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Arriving early is encouraged in order to guarantee a vaccine.
COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations in the U.S. are rising again. Michigan is in the middle of a surge. The B.1.1.7 variant is spreading rapidly there. It tends to target people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s with more severe symptoms.
Despite the fact that we have some of the strongest policies in place, mask mandates, capacity limits, working from home, we've asked our state for a 2-week pause. So despite all of that, we are seeing a surge because of these variants.
Michigan is reporting thousands of new COVID-19 cases daily. Just a couple of weeks ago, the state showed daily reported cases at 563 cases. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer is trying to ramp up vaccine shipments to the state.
Michigan was the first to heed the Biden administration's call to drop all of the priority groups and make it accessible for everyone. Right now, if you are 16 and up in Michigan, you can get vaccinated. You're eligible.
Some officials say that may not help in this case. It takes about 2 weeks after the Pfizer and Moderna second doses to get immunity. It also takes about 2 weeks after the Johnson & Johnson vaccine before immune sets in. Dr. Celine Gounder says the incubation period, which is the time from where you're exposed to when you're infected with coronavirus, is 4 to 5 days. Gounder says the best way to control the surge is to mask up, stop dining, and socializing outside.
In the trial of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin, the family of George Floyd says the defense is trying to raise doubts about Floyd.
They're going to talk about him as a person having opioid addiction. They're going to try to use that as the basis to say that's why he died.
Chauvin's attorney Eric Nelson played body cam video and asked witnesses if they could hear Floyd say, "I ate too many drugs." Nelson also asked paramedics why they did a load and go, which was putting Floyd in the ambulance and driving a few blocks away before beginning treatment.
A Minnesota police officer fatally shot a 20-year-old African-American man during a traffic stop last weekend. Police say the shooting was an accident. An officer mistakenly pulled out his handgun instead of his taser. The shooting happened in the suburban neighborhood of Brooklyn Center. When Daunte Wright was killed, people took to the streets in protest. After reports that protesters were throwing rocks at the Brooklyn Park Police Building, more than 500 National Guard troops were called in.
Tomorrow, what you will see is a greater law enforcement presence, a greater National Guard presence as we move into Phase 3.
The killing happened about 10 miles away from where former police officer Derek Chauvin is on trial in the killing of George Floyd. The National Guard already planned to increase its numbers as closing arguments approached in the Chauvin trial. Now, with protests over the death of Daunte Wright, the Guard will increase personnel sooner than expected. The body cam footage in Wright's shooting was recently released. It's graphic. The name of the officer involved wasn't released, but the officer is on administrative leave pending an investigation.
A newly organized group called White Lives Matter held a rally in Huntington Beach. There was chaos as counter-protesters from the Black Lives Matter movement arrived. Valley View's Andrea Esparza was there as fights broke out and arrests were made.
It's for everybody! Tensions ran high at Huntington Beach Pier. White Lives Matter protesters gathered to demonstrate against what they believe is the end of white culture. But they were met by counter-protesters from the Black Lives Matter movement.
Brown people are dying. Black people are dying. Asian people are dying. This cannot continue. This has to stop.
White Lives Matter protesters say they're using their First Amendment right to protect what they consider American culture. They think racism should be a thing of the past, claiming America's fate is predetermined by a higher power.
Created you black and me white. This is already predetermined. So if you want to get caught in the bogs of racism, and we can argue endlessly on that, and we'll never get anywhere.
White culture to me is putting up your hands and fighting, not acting like a little bitch.
Protests quickly grew heated when fights broke out. 2 White Lives Matter demonstrators were arrested, and Huntington Beach resident Shalisa Williams believes the White Lives Matter movement is a product of fear because people of color are finally being heard.
Are you upset because your privilege is not working anymore today? Are you mad because now your violence is being silenced and we're not letting it go on any further?
White Lives Matter protesters say they're going to continue to protest all throughout the country until they feel like their voices are being heard just as much as Black Lives Matter protesters. Reporting for Valley View News, I'm Andrea Esparza.
There were several hundred White Lives Matter protesters and counter-protesters at the rally. White supremacist groups were there, including the Loyal White Knights faction of the Ku Klux Klan. There were fights between protesters waving Trump flags and some people in all-black clothing. The entire rally was quickly declared an unlawful assembly by police and numerous arrests were made.
Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg is defending President Biden's broad definition of infrastructure jobs in his American Jobs Plan. Biden says his $2 trillion plan will improve the nation's neglected infrastructure. It already faces opposition from Republicans who think it costs too much.
The sooner the better, I think, is the bottom line. We've got to get this done. We're going to take on board a lot of ideas. We're going to negotiate, but we can't just sit here and let the clock run out because the American people can't wait.
The administration wants to move quickly. Experts say not taking action isn't a good option. Spending on infrastructure is expected to boost the economy.
The group Nutritious Life started meal distribution sites to help kids and teens to get healthy meals while they stay at home during the pandemic. Our reporter, Ava Lang, has more on the organization.
COVID-19 school closures made it difficult for parents to feed their kids. A lot of children normally get balanced meals at school. So, Nutritious Life started meal distribution sites in Los Angeles for kids and teens to continue to get healthy meals.
We kind of fill the gap during the times that school is out. So Nutritious Life is a summer sponsor through the California Department of Education.
Nationwide, nearly 20 million low-income students rely on school meals for nutrition. For some, the school meal is their most nutritious meal of the day.
We usually serve breakfast and lunch, so it's a full meal. The kids get fruits, they get protein, they get grains, the veggies and the milk, everything.
Since the pandemic hit in March last year, Nutritious Life has fed more than 2.5 million kids. Families can pick up free meals for children under 18. Information for pickup hours and location is found at nutritiouslife.org.
Some parents are out of jobs. They weren't able to pay their rent. But at least, I know that we were able to at least keep food on the table for the kids.
Nutritious Life is accepting applications to become meal distribution sites for churches, schools, and organizations. Reporting in Los Angeles, I'm Ava Lang.
More to come on Valley View News. The Good Karma has fed more than 13,000 people on Skid Row in the past 36 weeks. And movie theaters are now reopening as coronavirus numbers decline. Stay with us. Now let's go to Leslie Gama in Studio B with updates on what's happening around the world.
The director of China's version of the CDC, Gao Fu, says the effectiveness of their vaccine is low. China has 4 different vaccines for the public. Fu didn't specify which vaccine he was referring to. To improve the vaccine effectiveness, he suggests changing the number of doses given or even combining different vaccines. Fu's statement faced criticism. They came after more than 100 million people have already been vaccinated in China. No Chinese vaccines are used in the U.S. Guillermo Lasso, a conservative former banker, is elected the new president of Ecuador. He received about 52% of the vote. His opponent, Andrés Arauz, conceded defeat after the polls closed. Lasso told supporters he accepts the challenge of changing Ecuador's destiny. The former banker vowed to break away from the leftist policies of past administrations. Lasso will assume office on May 24th. Tropical cyclone Saroja landed in Western Australia, leaving
thousands without electricity. Strong winds up to 105 miles per hour tore a majority of buildings apart, directly affecting 1,500 people. It stretched across more than 600 miles of land. This cyclone is the first to hit affected areas since 1956. The Department of Fire and Emergency Services received 175 calls for help. Authorities are preparing for flooding due to heavy rain. The St. Vincent volcano in the Caribbean erupted last week, forcing the evacuation of 16,000 people. Layers of ash and dust cover the buildings and roads on the island. Smaller eruptions caused power outages and disrupted water supplies. Many people fled their homes. About 3,000 people are staying at government-run shelters. Cruise ships are prepared to take evacuees to nearby islands. Experts say the island is likely to see more volcanic activity in the coming days. The volcano has been dormant since 1979, but started to make rumblings last year. A nuclear facility in Iran was sabotaged a day after the nation unveiled new uranium enrichment equipment. The nature and damage of the attack is unclear, but it did cause a power failure. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki says the U.S. wasn't involved. Iran officials are blaming Israel for the attack, but Israel isn't claiming responsibility. The incident comes as Biden tries to revive the 2015 nuclear deal, which was abandoned by President Trump. I'm Leslie Gama reporting from Studio B. Back to you, Liseth. Our reporter Jordan Henry spoke with the organization's founder to see how he's been providing resources to those experiencing homelessness.
Skid Row is one of the largest homeless communities in the state. It's estimated to have at least 8,000 residents and growing. The owner of Good Karma LA says he first started delivering meals on Skid Row all by himself.
About this food truck, we call it Karma. We've been passing food out here for the past 36 weeks. We've fed 13,700 people so far.
People living on Skid Row tend to not trust anyone. Some say they've been poisoned or tricked by people who claim to be helping them. But they trust Good Karma LA.
It's a hot day, and a lot of the unhoused do not have access to water, do not have access to food or care kits. So us being out here is vital to their survival.
The Good Karma LA didn't just stop there. They created an addition to their service. A community fridge was placed here on Skid Row. Community leader Roger Purnell says the first community fridge that was put here didn't last long.
I don't know what happened to the other refrigerator, but it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I mean, the people from Skid Row couldn't ask for more.
As for the people of Skid Row, they plan on protecting and preserving the fridge. They even ask people to come by and donate. For Valley View News, I'm Jordan Henry.
President Joe Biden's coordinator for the southern border, Roberta Jacobson, is leaving her post at the end of the month. The announcement comes as work is being done to address the increase of migrants crossing the U.S.-Mexico border. She told the New York Times that her role was only meant to last the first 100 days of Biden's administration. Vice President Kamala Harris will continue Jacobson's work, dealing with countries like Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador.
Pomona Fairplex will now serve as an emergency intake site to temporarily house unaccompanied minors arriving at the U.S.-Mexico border. The announcement was made last week by LA County Board of Supervisors Chair Hilda Solis. Pomona City Mayor Tim Sandoval says he wants to make sure the children feel welcomed.
And that they are our children. This is not other people's children. These are our children, and we're going to do everything we can to take care of them.
About 2,500 children are expected to arrive. They will receive health and educational services. This is the second site in the LA County and the third in Southern California to temporarily house unaccompanied minors.
Entering the orange tier allows movie theaters to reopen at 50% capacity. Our reporter Estefany Garcia spoke with movie fanatics who share what it's like to watch newly released films on the big screen again.
After a year of being closed because of the coronavirus, theaters are opening now. But movie houses can only fill up at 50% capacity for now. Movie fanatics are happy to once again enjoy in-person movie premieres.
It was pretty good.
they had guidelines and stuff, so I felt pretty safe in there. But yeah, I'm just really glad to be back.
To ensure a safe viewing experience, employees and guests must comply with the CDC COVID-19 guidelines. That means face masks must be worn at all times, eating and drinking are only allowed when guests are seated in their reserved seats, and also social distancing must always be practiced.
Felt like it was back before COVID.
Just with the mask?
Yeah, the only difference was the mask, and then when we're sitting down, I felt no difference. I would just take down my mask and eat.
Nevertheless, the reopening means less in-person interaction between moviegoers and staff. AMC tells guests to buy their movie tickets through the mobile app or the kiosk. Technology is now an essential part of the movie-going experience as the reopening proceeds.
Not being able to pay in cash is a bit of a shocker since there was no warning.
As more counties move into the orange tier, many locations look forward to welcoming moviegoers once again. Reporting for Valley View News from Montebello, I'm Stephanie Garcia.
When we come back, unforeseen hurdles that come about while teaching music during the pandemic. Also, at-home beauty services gain popularity, what that means for the industry. Stay with us. Hideki Matsuyama is the first male golfer in Japan to win a major championship. Matsuyama won the ultimate trophy for golf in the Masters tournament, closing with 1/73 and a one-shot victory.
What a thrill and honor it will be for me to take the green jacket back to Japan, and I'm really looking forward to it.
His victory gives golf in Japan its biggest week ever.
The brain of Philip Adams, a former NFL player, will be tested for chronic traumatic encephalopathy. This disease has affected several pro athletes and military personnel. CTE causes violent mood swings and other cognitive disorders. Medical University of South Carolina and Boston University will be teaming up for the autopsy of Adams's brain. The research will be looking into the long-term effects of repetitive brain trauma. Earlier this month, Philip Adams killed a South Carolina physician, 3 family members, a repairman, and himself.
Michigan has the highest rate of COVID-19 cases. Governor Gretchen Whitmer has set a 2-week suspension for in-person classes, youth sports, and indoor dining. High schools will temporarily go back to online teaching, youth sports will be temporarily paused, and people will have to opt for outdoor dining or takeout. CDC Director Rochelle Walensky strongly encourages open high schools to enroll in the rapid testing program.
We have not yet seen evidence of significant transmission of COVID-19 within schools when schools have fully implemented CDC's mitigation guidance.
The Biden administration is sending out additional resources to aid Michigan. About 40% of the state's residents ages 16 and older have gotten at least one vaccine shot. About 69% of those 65 and older also received one dose.
Music students often benefit from one-on-one instruction when learning an instrument, but remote learning makes this difficult. Our reporter Al Charles Castillo talked to a music instructor about his experience teaching music virtually.
This is Alexander Nelson, a University of North Carolina graduate in classical guitar. Nelson is also a music coach and instructor. Nelson spoke over Zoom about the possible difficulties public schools face when teaching music to students during a pandemic.
Being able to play a scale, every kid can do that, that's fine, but every kid's going to get something different out of that, so they're not in the same, they're going to experience that thing very differently.
Zachary Morales and his cousins Jace and Nathan Fernandez are students of Zachary's dad, John Morales, a self-taught musician who fell in love with music over 15 years ago. Jace and Zachary feel that studying music comes with its benefits.
Music, it calms you down, and for me, it calms me down. I love listening to music. I feel it's fun to play music, and it's fun to listen to it.
John Morales gave some insight on how music helped him.
It's therapy, it's healing, you learn it
it's a good payoff reward, you know, and it stays with you, so you're not gonna forget how to do music or play music, you know.
Morales' 12-year-old nephew, Nathan Fernandez, offers a possible solution for educators to include more music studies in public schools.
So I think that they could probably even do a survey on what instruments people know and what they would like to learn besides simple instruments.
Students are set to attend hybrid classes throughout the month of April in Los Angeles, but it is unclear if music studies will be included. Reporting from Canoga Park, I'm Al Charles Castillo.
The Hollywood Bowl announces its reopening plans for this summer. The amphitheater has been closed for over a year because of the pandemic. The venue wants to reopen in May with the limitation of 4,000 people. The venue hopes to slowly increase the amount to its normal capacity at 17,000 people. The first 4 concerts will be free for all healthcare workers and courtesy of Kaiser Permanente.
But this means that we have to hire on more people, there's more training to be done, there's more protocols potentially, but it's all good news. We couldn't be more excited.
Details on artists and dates for concerts will be announced on May 11.
Director Chloe Zhao won the Best Picture Award for Nomadland at the 73rd Annual Directors Guild of America Awards on Saturday. Zhao is the first woman of color and only the second woman to win the top DGA awards. She paid a heartfelt tribute to her fellow nominees as she accepted the award over Zoom. The film also won 4 British Academy Film Awards, including Best Picture. The star of the film, Frances McDormand, was named Best Actress.
Groundbreaking comedy writer Ann Beats died at age 74 last Wednesday. Beats was one of the original writers of Saturday Night Live. She is also known for creating the cult sitcom Square Pegs starring Sarah Jessica Parker. Beats wrote for Murphy Brown, The Bells of Bleecker Street, and produced A Different World. Rona Edwards, a film producer and a close friend, said Beats died at her home in West Hollywood. The cause of death is not known.
At-home beauty services provide an alternative salon experience. Our reporter Jihan Lewis spoke with certified lash technicians on how the industry has grown during the pandemic.
Since the pandemic, the beauty industry has gone through a lot of changes, but at-home beauty services are growing in popularity, specifically for lash extensions. More people are ditching the mascara for this alternative.
I specialize in classics, which is where you place an individual lash extension on an individual natural lash.
Appointments look different now than when she first started in 2018. Clients must be temperature checked. Masks must be worn at all times. Some clients prefer this over salons right now.
In my case, I work from home and it's just me, so it's never more than just me and my client at once. So I think that also gives them a sense of comfort.
With a growing demand, the industry is seeing more lash experts. CSUN student Charisma Marinez became a certified technician in August.
And I kind of took advantage of the fact that we were stuck at home and we didn't really have much to do, so I decided to pick up a new hobby that I've always wanted to try.
In 6 months, her hobby's grown into a successful at-home business.
I realized that if this is something I can do now, then once we're out of this, I can even grow even more.
LA County will allow up to 75% capacity soon, but at-home services will likely remain a popular alternative. Reporting in Northridge for Valley View News, I'm Jahan Lewis.
That's all from us at Valley View News. I'm Lisette Ceja.
And I'm Savannah Birchfield. For stories any time of day, go to our website sundial.csun.edu. Thanks for watching.